Hey everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. Be sure to check out my Instagram listed down below. I post lots of fun things in my stories, including the first time I used this bad boy. So be sure to check that out. I would love to have you over there. I post lots of fun stuff and you don't want to miss out on.
Whatever we do it just for fun.
Today's video, I want to give a big thank you to Makeblock, the makers of the xTool. They sent me this awesome D1 laser and I'm so excited to tell you about it. Now, just so you guys know, I always do 100% honest reviews, so I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel about this and all of my thoughts. And even though the tool was provided to me, they did not pay me to give a good review. They want an honest review, so that's what you're going to get. So let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is the xTool, how it came. So this is something you need to assemble yourself. So if you're not really confident with assembly directions, you may want to have a little bit of help. The directions were pretty easy to follow. They do have a video on their website that shows you exactly how to put it together. And I watched that and it helped me a ton to get this put together the correct way. But it was a little bit time consuming and the tool they sent wasn't awesome. They're put together with Allen wrenches and they were a little bit thin and I kept dropping it. But that's probably just my problem. On top of that, you do have to plug it in a few places, and some of the places where you plug it in are a little bit difficult to reach if you have larger hands. So you may want to just make sure that you're able to fit your hand in there as well. But once it's all plugged together and put together, it's really very easy. Again, the directions were pretty simple. So unlike some of those other lasers that you'll see on the internet where they all come in one piece, this actually comes in 5 separate large pieces, plus the laser is separate. And then I also have the rotary tool here that goes with this as well so that you can engrave round items. But your laser, which is this big block here, comes separate, and then you have the bar that holds the laser. Each of the back and front support bars and then the right and left support bars are separate as well. You'll need to use some screws and some zip ties to place this all together. But like I said, as long as you can kind of follow along with the video, it was pretty simple to do. Now, I'll be completely honest, I was absolutely terrified of this when I first started. I was not sure what to expect. I had never used a laser tool before. I have friends who have them, but they're on the Glowforge, which is in a box. So the laser is actually contained inside of a box. This one you can see is very open. So the first thing that I'm going to tell you to make sure that you do when using a tool like this is to use it in a super well ventilated area. I actually will probably never use this in my craft room. This is something that I would use in my garage with the garage door open, or I also used it on my porch. What you'll see me using the laser in the video is all things that I did on my porch. It just felt a little bit safer to me due to the fumes, and that way all of my pets were safe and away from it. We have a dog and 5 cats, and I know that they'd be interested in the noises that this made and the movement, so it was just best to do this in a really safe environment. So again, if you have children or anything like that, you want to make sure to keep them far away from this because it can be dangerous. Another thing to note is that you never want to leave this alone while it's working. So when it is actually using the laser, you want to make sure that you are right there. You can obviously be doing other things, but you want to be in the room paying attention to your machine, because you can get things called flare-ups where it may actually catch something of your material on fire. So just to be safe, you do want to make sure that you are watching this thing and you're right there with it. Now they do send some safety glasses, which I do say make sure that you wear these. They're actually pretty good as far as like fit and quality. They feel really nice. Now their laser is contained into a shielded box, which I will show you guys on the laser. But for safety's sake, you do want to make sure that you are wearing safety glasses when working with the laser because that light is very bright and can do damage to your eyes. So keep that in mind. That is another really important safety feature that I think needs to be pointed out. A lot of people don't really realize how bright a laser light can be and how damaging that it can be. Now, this is a really easy to use tool. They have software that comes with it that I was a little bit intimidated by at first, but once I figured out how to use it a little bit better, I didn't find it too difficult, but I do find it works better with PNGs and not SVGs. but I'm still learning how to use it a little bit, and I'm still having a little bit of trouble changing it from millimeters to inches. So I'm still learning, and I will continue to learn, and as I learn more, I will definitely be using this a lot. So let me show you around the machine a little bit before I show you guys how it works and some of the other features of the machine. The first thing that I want to show you is the laser, and that is in this gray box that has the orange shield around the laser. The laser does offer a crosshair on it. For some reason mine is off-centered, and I tried kind of fixing it, but I couldn't quite figure out how. So that may be something I need to work on my end, but it worked just fine even with that crosshair not being centered. The next thing I want to show you is the part that you can pull down to set the height of your laser. Now, a lot of laser cutters will give you a measurement to use from the distance of the top of whatever you are going to engrave or cut, but this actually has it built in, so there's no need to really guess with your distances, and I really like that. It makes it so much easier for me, somebody who's never used a laser before, to figure out exactly how I want to position my laser away from my materials. This has a huge amount of movement in it from the up and down movement, so you can really fit a fairly thick material under this, but you also have legs to add to this when you get the rotary tool so that you can fit the rotary tool under it, so you can use fairly thick materials. It has a little dial on the side, and that is how you set its height and lock it into place. It's really easy to use, very, very simple, not a whole lot of, fidgeting around with it for measuring. And what I like is that with this one, you see a lot of metal on the machine. So I'll show you here, we have metal wheels for our laser to roll on, and it's rolling against a metal bar. Also, all of the struts and supports are metal as well, which I think is really, really helpful. Another thing I want to point out to you are the belts on the sides. What I like is that these are really tucked away. You're not really going to get your hands on them, anything like that. Not that you should have your hands in here, but it is a much safer way to have the belts since they're tucked under all of this metal. They are really easy to adjust as well with just the screws on the side. When you put this together, there will be a zip tie on one of them that you will need to cut, and your drivetrain will be very, very slack. One of the last things that you do when putting your machine together is to put this bar on, and this is your drivetrain bar. This did take me a little bit of finagling to get put together. I had to loosen the screw a little bit on the end and get the bar into the little round hole that it needed to go into, and then secure it on the other end. But once I kind of figured that out, it was pretty simple. Now you can see here we have a lot of electronics and the button to start it, plus its on button and the plugs for the power cord and for the USB cord over here on the front bar. That just is right on the side, and they're really easy to access, and I love the go button here on the top. It was very simple to use. Then on this other side here, you have a few things that you'll need to plug in as well. These are motors and things like that. There are several motors in here to keep everything moving and going. Another thing I want to point out is the fan that is on top of the laser. It's really important that that fan is running when you're running your laser to keep everything cool. So you want to make sure to keep any dust and debris out of it and clean it occasionally. I just use a little bit of canned air and kind of clean around that, and it works really, really, really well. And then we zip tied up the cording to keep it out of the way from the machine working. Now I will say there does seem like there's a lot of cord that still kind of hangs down, but I think that it's really fine. I followed their directions on where to kind of zip tie everything, so everything is really relatively out of the way, but I'm sure you could probably tie these up a little bit more if you felt more secure doing that. Now I want to show you where we plugged in some of the other things, so I'm going to flip the machine over to show you that. I did not quite originally realize that if I flipped the machine over, I would have a little bit better access. You want to make sure that you plug everything in before you put your laser on so that you can easily access all of that without messing up the laser. But I obviously already have mine on, so I'm just going to hold it and show you guys what that looks like. There are a couple plugs down there that you need to plug in. There's yellow, red, and white down there that you'll need to plug in. And again, they are a little bit tight and hard to get your hand into, so just be aware of that because it is a little difficult to stick your hand down under there. You'll also have to plug in your laser as well, which also was a little bit difficult to access. But once I got it in, it was absolutely fine and everything worked really well. You also get the USB cord to connect your xTool to your computer, plus your power cord. That is also included. This can actually connect wirelessly, and what I love is that it works offline. Their software does not require the internet to work, so you can really kind of cut this anywhere, which I kind of love. As long as you have your computer and their software, you are able to cut. Now, it does say that they do have an app coming soon for the Android and the iPhone, so we'll be on the lookout for that. It's not available yet, so I haven't been able to try it, but I'm hoping to see that soon because I think that would be a really handy tool, especially for something like this where I wouldn't want to use it directly in my house. Again, you could if you had a really well ventilated room. I don't have that option. Another thing that we have is the rotary tool, and this can be used to engrave stainless steel tumblers, or even I saw them doing a rolling pin. So I thought that would be really cool. So we're going to try this out. And then it has these extra legs to put on the bottom of your machine to hold it up, because this is quite tall, especially once you put a stainless steel tumbler on it. Now let's take you over to the software and show you a little bit about the software. Here is the LaserBox basic software. So again, this is not something I would design in. However, it is a pretty cool little program and it's pretty fun to mess around in. They do have some options. They've got outlines and you can insert shapes and you can insert text. But something like this just wouldn't be where I would edit, but that's just me. So like you can edit whatever you want in here. But I would prefer to just take and import PNGs that I made elsewhere. I like to just import from my design. So what I do is I just go to menu and then import. And then you can find whatever design you want to use. So I'm just going to use the PNG that I made the wood board on that you guys will see lasered. But this is just a PNG. Now the orange shows that it is all filled in, so it's ready to engrave. So it will engrave everything that is in the orange section. Now there are a lot of settings on here, so you can change what kind of material you're using, and you can kind of change all of these different settings as well. Now you do need to make sure that your image is selected in order to change your material. So if you're like over here and you're like, I can't change anything, nothing's working, it's because your design is not selected. So you want to make sure to select your design. Now I will say, playing around with these settings is a definite must. When I made the cutting board, I did the power at 65%, and then I did the speed at 50 millimeters per second, just one pass. And then this is where you can size your design. Now, like I said, I still haven't figured out how to change it to inches. I'm sure it's just something I am personally missing, but I just can't find it. But what I will say is you can just use Google or ask your Amazon Alexa or something to convert for you. It's very easy. And then you can kind of change some of the things here, like with the rotate. So if you know you want it to kind of be at an angle, you can do that. Or you can also flip it however you want. So if you want to do it like mirrored for some reason, whatever you want to do. Then you've got the Engraved Mode, which is bidirectional or unidirectional. I choose bidirectional. Unidirectional doesn't make sense to me. But again, I'm very new to this, so we'll figure it out. And then these are some more advanced settings that you can kind of mess with and just play around with. But I really haven't had a chance to play around with much here. But I will say the lines per centimeter. So this right here is where you're going to kind of tell it how detailed your image is going to be. So the less lines you have, the less detailed and the less dark it will be. And then with the sharpness, that's going to kind of change again how many lines you get. So I'm going to do 100% sharpness. And then the grayscale, again, I haven't really played with it too much, but there's definitely a lot of things that you can change. So then I want to show you really quick, if you want to cut, I'll just put a little shape in here. Let's just do a little star. So you can make a star, and this one you can actually set to cut. This you can only engrave, but we can set the star to cut. So what you can do is change your material, and it can do leather, corrugated cardboard, or basswood. And then you need to set your thickness of your material. And then here's where you can kind of change your power and how fast it goes, and then how many times it passes. And then again, it has the sizing, and then you're transforming and all of that. So very, very easy if you want to cut it. You'll see that your cut lines are purple and your engraved lines are orange, and it's real easy to tell because if you switch this over to engrave, you'll see that it changes orange and then it changes purple. So that's a really easy way to tell if you're cutting or engraving something. Now you might hear the fan going in the background because I do have it turned on, and the fan runs 24/7 if it's on. So just keep that in mind. So what we're going to do is go up to where it says not connected, and we're going to choose our serial port laser box COM12. That is the laser that we're going to use. Now all you need to do is press this little start button or F6. It's not going to start the laser right away. It's going to kind of bring up some options to use. And I'm going to show you guys one of my favorite things that it does so that you can get a better idea on how we can line everything up. So you can see here that you have hit the go button and you're given this little image. That's what it's going to engrave. But this little dot is actually where your laser is. So what you can do is have it center the laser onto your design by just looking at these crosshairs. Now again, you can kind of change the speed and all of that over here, but the button that we're really looking at right here is framing. And let me show you what that does when you click it. So what you'll want to do over here is to actually line up your image and your crosshairs here to your blank. So that looks pretty centered. So what I'll do is hit framing on the computer. And you'll see what it's going to do. It's going to kind of show you where the edges of your design are. This is really, really helpful. And then it'll recenter itself. So that's one way that you can make sure that your blank is the way you want it to be lined up. Now, you want to be careful with what kind of product you use. You don't want to use any kind of vinyl or PVC product, as the burning and the engraving with the laser actually releases toxins into the air. So you definitely want to avoid using those types of products. But you can use genuine leather, aluminum, stainless steel, all sorts of different kinds of wood. So there's a lot of options. So definitely take a look and do some research before you choose what you want to engrave or cut with the machine. It will cut certain materials and engrave others. So just keep that in mind as well. It does have its limitations, and I'll see if I can find a document that I can link down below with some more of that information for the machine. I like to do that. I do it a couple times just to make sure that I have everything exactly where I want it. And you can move your laser and your bar that your laser is on in your machine so that you have the space to use whatever you would like to within the realm of the space that the machine can work in. Once you've got everything lined up, you can just go ahead and press the button to start it. Once it starts, the laser is going to start going, and again, you don't want to leave your item unattended, so just make sure you stick around and hang out while it's doing its thing. Make sure to have a fire extinguisher available to you. That is a really important safety feature that I think everyone should have when working with a laser, regardless of brand, type, anything like that. And really, you should have them in your home anyways for safety's sake. You can usually get them for about $20 to $30. I will link the one that we have down below. We keep one in our kitchen, one in our garage, and one in the craft room, just for safety's sake, because we do use a lot of heat in our craft room. I hope you guys had fun checking out this D1 xTool by Makeblock. This is a really cool tool. I cannot wait to use it some more. Like I said, I was really pretty afraid of it at first, but once I started using it and really did some research about safety, I feel a lot better. Make sure to have a fire extinguisher available to you. Do this in a super well ventilated area, and be sure to have your safety glasses. They provide them. Please do not do damage to your eyes. Your eyes are so important, and it's really important that you take care of them. Between the fact that something could maybe even fly off of this if you're burning wood, and the fact that you have that bright laser light, these are really important. You're also going to get some lubrication for the machine, so make sure not to lose this. Keep this in a safe spot. This looks like a white lithium style grease, so you'll just want to make sure you have this in case you need it to do any kind of maintenance on the machine. I am so excited to start working with this a little bit more, but I would say for the price, this is a really great value if you're looking to get started into the laser world. I think you can do a lot with the machine. It does do cutting, it does do engraving, so it's really going to be a fun product that I think you're going to enjoy using and learning more about. I'm going to try to do some more cool videos with this because it's really neat, and I've always wanted to try a laser, and I've just always been a little bit afraid of them. So I'm really excited to get started and learn even more about everything that I can do with the D1 xTool. If you guys have questions, please let me know in those comments down below. I will do my research and try to answer them to the best of my ability, because I know that a lot of people have tons of questions about these machines. Even I do. I don't know everything about them, but I am researching, and any kind of question I can answer for you, I will do my best. be sure to subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you as part of my crafty family here on YouTube. And be sure to check out the link if you want to get a D1 or any of the xTools. It is linked down below in the video description. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and as always, happy crafting!